If you've tried to purchase a standing desk, you know that the options that are out there are overwhelming. You have a wide array of prices that can be anywhere from the $100 range up to over $1,000. So how do you make the right decision on what kind of standing desk to buy? Well, my name's Philip McGee. I'm a physical therapist who has turned to a non-clinical career in utilization review, and I have myself purchased a standing desk and know the key things that you should look for. And here I'm providing a buying guide so that you can make sure that you're buying the best desk for you. So the first thing that you want to consider with a standing desk is whether you want it to be a manual hand crank standing desk or if you want it to be a motor electronic standing desk. And I would say for myself, I think that it's best to go with a motor standing desk because the ease of it to be able to make those adjustments as opposed to using a hand crank, the difference in price isn't that significant. So I would highly recommend going with one that has an electronic motor. Now, once you decide if you're going to go with one that has an electronic motor, you need to decide if it's going to be a single motor or a dual motor. Now, the pros and cons of each of these: a single motor is typically a little bit less expensive. It does tend to be a little bit louder, while a dual motor has a quieter sound when you make those adjustments, but it can be a little bit more expensive. However, it also is able to lift more weight. And so for myself, I noticed there wasn't much of a price difference, and I went with a dual motor and have been very happy with it. As far as the height controls can vary a lot. If you have a really simple motorized standing desk, it can be where it's just an up and a down button, and that's it. For myself, I went with a control that had memory presets where you can decide whether it has a 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes they have more different options, but you can set the height that you want it to be when you're sitting and set the height that you want it to be when you're standing. And if there's a different memory preset that you want to set the height to, you can do that. But it makes it really simple if you have one that has memory presets, because you can just press a button and it automatically goes to the height you want it to be when you're sitting. Press another button, it goes to the height you want it to be when you're standing. When it comes to the desk dimensions, you do need to know what size your office space is going to be. I know for myself, I had a pretty small space when I started my job that I was using my extra bedroom, so I only had about 6 feet by 6 feet, and I made sure that I had a desk that wasn't going to be too large. It was 48 inches wide. They do have much wider desks, but you have to take into consideration your office space and also the number of items that you need on your desk. If you have a dual monitor, needing to make sure that you cover all of that space. If you need to be able to have papers and other items on your desk, take those things into consideration. If you're going to have a desktop that's wood, most of the standing desks tend to be wood desktops, but there are also glass desktops. The wood desktops, they do allow you to hide the wires. If you have a lot of wires that are going to be underneath your desk, you can use different organizational tools so that those are concealed. You can't really do that well with a glass desktop, but the pro of a glass desktop, from the people that I know that use them, they really like to use it because, one, the aesthetics, but functionally, you're able to use a dry erase marker and write little notes on there. You're not wasting paper. You can just make your notes with the marker and you can clean it off from the desktop. So those are some things that you want to consider if you want it to be wood or glass. As far as the wood desk, if you're going with a wood desk, sometimes they come in a single piece for the desktop, that it's all one piece together. but a lot of them are in multiple pieces. Sometimes it's just two pieces where there's a front and a back piece, but sometimes they, because of shipping, they put it where there's four pieces, left, right, back, and front. And so you want to consider that if that's something that's important to you. For me, I went with a single desktop piece because I wanted to make sure that it was completely level, that there weren't going to be what looked like some seams in the desktop. And I just thought that there wasn't that much of a difference in price between a single desktop piece as opposed to the multiple desktop pieces. Multiple desktop pieces tend to be on the less expensive desks. One thing that I'm glad that I considered when I was purchasing my desk, I had looked at a desk that I really liked, but one of the things was that it had a bar that ran between the two legs of the desk. And for myself, I knew that I wanted to make sure that I stayed active, that I could put my QB, which is a small under the desk elliptical, and I wanted to be able to put that underneath my desk while I worked. If I purchased that one desk that had the bar that was running underneath it, then that would have stopped me from being able to use the QB. If you're someone who wants to use a treadmill desk, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that there's plenty of space that you can have underneath your desk. Additional features that you want to consider, they're oftentimes for standing desks, they don't have keyboard trays, but if that's something that's important to you, making sure to look for that or to look at options on how you could install one. A lot of the desks are now including electronic outlets where, since it's a motorized standing desk, they are able to have different outlets so that you're not having to utilize a different surge protector. It's already included in the standing desk. Also, a lot of the controls now will have USB ports so that you could charge your phone with the standing desk. So something to consider. There are desks that have monitor stands where it's an elevated level for the monitor, and then it's just your regular desktop if that's something that's important to you. As far as organization, I know for myself, my desk that I have has a tray underneath the desk where it's connected to the bottom of the desktop, and I can put different cords there, and I can put different AC adapters on there for the computer so that it's not hanging down on the ground. They also usually have sometimes holes in the desktop where you can put cords like your keyboard, that the cord from there can go in there, or if you have other things that you want to organize, sometimes those are things that are included in the desk. Headphone holder I actually thought was kind of unimportant, but it came with the desk that I purchased. But it actually came in handy because the job that I have to wear a headset, and it's nice that when I go on break, I can just hook it onto the headphone holder, and it's just a nice, convenient thing. For me, it wasn't a make or break, but it's something to consider. There's other features like a cup holder. I've seen standing desks that have removable cup holders if you're wanting to make sure that you don't ruin the desktop. You can just put your cup in there. There are some standing desks that have wheels to them so that you can just move it around wherever you want to. I would say most of them don't have that, but that is a feature on some of them. And then the last one to consider, and I didn't put it as its own separate entity to consider, is whether or not you want an L-shaped or a corner desk. Most desks are going to just be the rectangular desk, but for some people, they really want to have a desk that would fit in the corner, or one that's L-shaped so that they have a lot more space to be able to utilize their job. Those are some things that you might want to consider. Overall, I think that you don't have to break the bank when it comes to buying a standing desk. For myself, I paid less than $250 for a dual motor standing desk that had a single desktop, and I think that there's a lot of companies out there that are charging $500 to $1,000 on a standing desk, and I would say for myself, I have been very happy with the desk that I chose, and I have no regrets going with the standing desk. I think that whenever I've had to use a traditional desk, I really am happy to go back to my standing desk. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, I would appreciate it if you liked the video and consider subscribing. I do have other videos on non-clinical topics, such as preparing for interviews and why I chose to leave clinical physical therapy. If you are interested in any services that I have, like resume reviews or practice interviews, you can go to my website in the link below at nonclinicalcareerguide.com. And I have also recently released a utilization review course called Non-Clinical Utilization Review. If you are a clinician who is burnt out and want to consider going non-clinical and specifically going into utilization review, it is the only utilization review course that I'm aware of that has been exclusively created by someone working full-time in utilization review. So thank you so much for watching this video, and see you in the next video.